Welcome back, folks. Hopefully you're still awake. And we do have challenge questions, so please stay awake. So let's switch the gear a little bit and talk a little bit about our future. Future for FDA's quality assessment and knowledge management strategies. For this part, we would really ask everyone to help out, to use a little bit more imagination, because a lot of things, a good chunk of the things we'll discuss is more for FDA internal, and we're not yet ready to share with anyone outside. So please use your imagination, right? And this specific event today and tomorrow is about Pharmaceutical Quality Symposium. So it's never enough to remind what is pharmaceutical quality, right? So a quality product of any kind consistently meets the expectation of the user, as we're seeing here, computer, cars, and mobile phones. So drug is also a commercial product. So therefore, drugs are no different than other commercial products. And with that being said, patients expect safe and effective medicine with every dose they take. Right? And pharmaceutical quality is assuring every dose is safe and effective and free of contamination and defects. And it is also, it's what gives the patients confidence in their next dose that relates to consistency and continuous improvement and continuous assurance of quality throughout the life of the drug product. And for the specific presentation here, we have three main objectives. Number one, we would like to elaborate on key challenges during the quality assessment within FDA. And number two is to share with everyone about one of FDA's modernization initiatives, and it's called KASA for short, and we'll share with you the whole term for KASA. And also give folks a general flavor about the key components about KASA and the general principles and general ideas behind this initiative and behind the system. And as for any organization, we're all facing external challenges and internal challenges. And for FDA, you can imagine we're a huge drug company. Our pipeline is about 10,000 instead of a few or 10. So with that being said, we have a large volume of application for us to assess. And also we have commitments to the public under different UFA programs for generics, biosimilars, and new drug, prescription drugs as well, or new drugs, NDAs as well. So, and also out there, the IT, we're in the 21st century, there are a lot of advancements with all these IT technologies, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and blockchain, and so on and so forth. And we are a little bit behind at this moment from the IT perspective from FDA. And that's external challenges giving us a lot of pressure from the outside. And from the inside, we are feeling the heat as well. As you may know, as a reviewer, I'm still a reviewer, I do a lot of reviews right now. So what I do is that my review documentation is still a Microsoft Word-based document. I go look into the application, open up the PDF files in the system, and do some copy and pasting as needed. And then I do my assessment, which is all like narrative. So it's unstructured in general. So in that sense, you can see, and then once I'm done with my documentation, the Word document may be archived or transferred into a PDF document, and then further archived. You can imagine this kind of information or archiving system does not really allow us to do further data mining or data trending and so on and so forth. So with that being said, our current practice internally for quality assessment really hindering us to do further knowledge management and also to do further trending and analyses from the quality perspective. So with that being said, we really came, in the past about, I think in 2016, we came up with this new initiative. Dr. Lawrence Yu in the morning already elaborated on KASA, the main drive and the main reasons behind it. And so this initiative started to be formulated and conceived, and is one of the major initiatives as part of entire CDER's effort for modernizing our regulatory assessment. As you may recall, one keyword, if you don't remember anything, please remember one thing from Dr. Patrizia Cavazzoni's presentation this morning. We are modernizing our CDER FDA quality assessment and quality oversight. And KASA is one of the efforts within this modernization effort. And with that being said, let's take a quick look at what KASA is about. I don't speak Spanish, but I understand KASA stands for house. So we have a house here. And the foundation is a knowledge base for product, manufacturing, or facility. And we have three main pillars. And we'll go through the details about the three pillars in the next few slides. On the top of, that's the roof, and that's where we do our knowledge-aided assessment or quality assessments. In the old days, it was known as review. So now we call ourselves as assessors. We conduct quality assessment. And on the left-hand side of the screen, you will see we have structured application, eventually submitting information into the house. Let's say that's the entrance of the information. Everything goes into the house, getting arranged and assessed. And then eventually, it will allow us to do further knowledge management down the road across different products. So it is a very important CDER initiative to CDER and also to FDA. And there are about 4 objectives, and Dr. Lawrence has shown a little bit this morning. The first objective for the system is to capture and manage knowledge during the life cycle of drug products. And the second objective is to establish rules and algorithms to facilitate risk identification, mitigation, communication for drug product manufacturing and facility. And the third objective is to perform a computer-aided analysis of applications for comparison across regulatory standards and quality risk across a whole list or repository of drug products or facilities. And the last, definitely not the least, objective is for us to have a structured assessment that can eventually eliminate all the text-based copy and paste narrative in our quality assessment for future knowledge management purposes. And you will see these 4 aspects or objectives will be reflected in the upcoming slides when we go through some illustrations. And I hope by now everybody is familiar with the IQA in the sense that how we conduct quality assessments within OPQ. So we have experts from different disciplines work together on one application. And for the next part of the presentation, I will single out product assessment and manufacturing assessment for the demonstration purpose to share with everyone about KASA's general ideas. So before we dive into the specifics, let's take a quick look at the 3 main pillars. The first pillar is about assessment of risk to quality by establishing rules and algorithms. And the second pillar is about control of risk to quality by assessing product design, understanding, and quality standards. And then the third pillar is about control of risk to quality by assessing manufacturing and facility. And when necessary, we can conduct pre-approval inspections. So these are the 3 main pillars. And if we zoom in a little bit more from the aspect of drug product assessment, which is one of the IQA discipline within OPQ. So from drug product perspective, we are evaluating product risk control with a focus on drug substance characteristics and product design, understanding and control when we talk about KASA. So first part of it is for when it comes to drug product evaluation using the KASA system is about risk assessment. And for the risk assessment, right now we installed an algorithm behind that computer or system. You can call it as an expert system. So what we do is that an assessor will go into the system and simply enter or select the basic chemical physical properties of the drug substance and the drug product design as well. And then you click one single button. It will calculate the initial risk assessment for different critical quality attributes. So that's the one way to imagine the system. And from there, we can conduct a further analysis of the risk control. So if after the risk assessment is done, you can see this is more of it's a screenshot, it's a static shot. But imagine these are individual dynamic fields. When the assessor go into the system, in the KASA system, they can enter the information or pick information from the drop-down menu. And from there, you can imagine these will be discrete data elements in our database or data warehouse for future analysis. So this will be general for the future slides or future discussion. So with that being said, we'll have this initial assessment, and then when we move to the right-hand side, or the middle of the slide, looking at risk control strategies being adopted or being proposed by the applicants. So what we do over here is that we have in-house experts. We look through our applications. We summarize commonly used mitigation strategies or control strategies or approaches and generate a drop-down list. So when we look at a specific application, I'll see, okay, they use approach A, B, and then I'll go into the system, select A and B. And then you can imagine that information will be captured in a very structured way. And then I can move on to the right-hand columns to put in my own reviewers or assessors' evaluation of that specific aspect of the application. So with that being said, all these different fields or different brackets or different squares will be discrete data elements. Once we have our review, our assessment completed, it will go into the system for future analysis. And with that being said, this is looking at one single application. But if we can imagine a little bit more, our vision is that this system will allow us to compare multiple applications. For instance, here, there are 3 applications on the screen, and we're looking at ASI as a quality attribute. And these are 3 same products. Let's imagine one is the RLD, and the other 2 are generic products, generic copies. And regarding ASI, from the initial risk assessment, this is also inherent risk assessment in the sense that they start out at the same point of being high. But then during the quality assessment, we can see different applicants uses different strategies in a sense of risk controls for risk control or risk mitigation. And from there, if you look at the right-hand side, after all the things being evaluated, we can see the update risk would be different, or residual risk would be different. For one application, it turns to be green. And the first one is still fairly red and yellowish. So with that being said, at the point of concluding the review cycle or assessment cycle, the first application may receive a CR letter for further mitigation to be done. And the second and third one may be approved. After the approval, we may need to put more emphasis or more scrutiny for the middle one, for instance, the second application. If they want to change certain aspects related to ASI, we may need to give more emphasis or attention to that supplement. So that's how we are envisioning our knowledge management can be done down the road. And another aspect is that right now we have specifications all in the PDF files. And at the point of approval, these specifications for the products or quality standards are still in these PDF documents, dispersed across our own database. And with the KASA initiative or KASA platform, we envision that we'll be able to have these quality standards and specifications all in one data warehouse so that we can easily conduct data mining and data trending or comparison. So with that being said, if today we're receiving a new application along the same line or a very similar product, they propose a new set of specification, new set of control strategy, then we would be able to quickly compare if they're proposing something along the line with what we have approved already, or they're proposing something really as an outlier. Then if it's an outlier, we can direct our folks, our assessors, to pay more attention to that specific outlier aspect. So that's another way we envision our future knowledge management would be. And if we switch the gear a little bit to use manufacturing as an example to illustrate a little bit more about KASA or the KASA system. So here, for manufacturing, the focus is on focuses are on the risk to each product CQA from manufacturing, process, and facility perspective, and also the risk mitigation. As Raki and other folks already mentioned in the morning, when we do the manufacturing process, manufacturing evaluation, we first also conduct initial risk assessment by answering some general questions or specific questions related to unit operations. And then we'll be able to use an algorithm behind the scene or behind the scene of the system to determine high, medium, low risk levels for these different aspects of the application from the manufacturing perspective. And then based on the initial risk assessment, the system will help us and guide our assessors to conduct different level of assessment. For instance, if one aspect is of a high risk for the initial risk assessment, the system will trigger me to do more of a full-fledged evaluation. While if the risk is low or medium, the system may give me a new interface, trigger me to do abbreviated assessment. You can imagine this will guide me to be more consistent and to be more efficient. Sorry, we had to use some imagination here. So with that being said, we do put a lot of emphasis on the evaluation of unit operations because each unit operation is a material transformation process and may affect the critical quality attributes. And on the screen, you can see that we have a list of unit operations. They may be affecting different critical quality attributes. And then that's where we will pay a lot of attention during the initial risk assessment and risk evaluation, and then the residual risk assessment. And here is a familiar appearance from the manufacturing perspective. We also are able to, or we will be able to capture different approaches from the process perspective, from the facility perspective, when it comes to risk control strategies or mitigation strategies. And then once we have such information structured in the system, we'll be able to do data mining, data comparison, and so on and so forth. And here, looking at across different applications of the same critical quality attribute, same unit operation. And again, depending on the individual applicant's strategy regarding risk control or risk mitigation, they may get a different color map. So for instance, the first one, they use different approaches for process control and facility control. And then based on our evaluation, we may have to decide, or we may decide that we need a PAI for that specific application. While the second one, because of the stronger or more powerful mitigation strategies being adopted and proposed for process and facility, we may not need a PAI anymore. And also after the PAI, you can see the first one, the color is changed from red to green, in the sense that the PAI inspection result came out pretty well, and then we can lower the risk when we do the updated risk assessment. And also the last column will be able to help us, to guide us to determine if we need to do more post-approval inspections or surveillance inspections and so on and so forth. You can imagine these different data points will help us going through the entire life cycle of different products. And along the same line, as you may be able to envision that once we have the KASA system in place, we'll be able to have easily accessible information about the different facilities and also control strategies, especially for complex manufacturing or complex unit operations. And again, with that being said, if I'm seeing a new application coming in today using a similar same site or similar manufacturing unit operations, then I can compare to see, okay, are they proposing some kind of new things or outliers, or along the line what we have approved already. So then going through the two different routes, we may or may not spend too much time on the specific application or the assessment. So just to coming back up a little bit more, we had this FDA advisory committee meeting back in September 2018, and we had 10 members on the committee from academia and also from industry, and all members voted unanimously in support of this KASA initiative to modernize our quality assessment. And then right now we are mainly working on the house itself, in the sense of building the infrastructure from an IT perspective. Make sure all the different dependencies and logics and algorithms are in place. And then what about the future? The future is, part of the future is about the standard applications on the left-hand side of your screen. So that's the part that we will continue to collaborate with another initiative within FDA, which is called PQCMC, Pharmaceutical Quality, Chemistry, Manufacturing, and Control Project or Initiative. This initiative affects 3 centers, CDER, CBM, and CBER, three centers. So what this project or initiative will do is to establish electronic standards for submitting PQCMC data into FDA. It is in the making. There was a Federal Register notice back in 2017. There was a public meeting in 2018. If you're not aware of this project, please, you can reference some of the notices. And then to be a little bit more specific, this PQCMC initiative will be, at least for now, will be mainly focusing on Module 3, in standardizing the chemistry data, or CMC data, to be submitted into Module 3. Today, we'll have everything in PDF. Tomorrow, individual discrete elements will come in to the door and get validated and then be used or deposited into our warehouse and eventually be used by the KASA system for the quality assessment. So that's our future state for KASA and for structured data. And at this point, probably you have realized that we can definitely enjoy certain benefits for FDA and for the industry as well. So for FDA, as you may be able to see already, that KASA system will help us to be more consistent and more objective in our regulatory assessment and decision making, and will help us to better manage our knowledge in-house, and also help us eventually to do better in regulatory actions and decision making during the quality assessment. And for the industry, we can envision certain benefits as well. The first one is that the KASA system will help to provide a clearer regulatory expectations and enhance transparency. And hopefully, with all these efficiencies and consistency, we'll have more first cycle approvals, especially for generic drugs, and then eventually make more affordable and accessible medicine available to the public. And here is an acknowledgement, and definitely KASA is a huge effort within FDA, within OPQ. I'm just one of the voices on the team, so I want to thank everyone. Worked very hard, diligently on KASA, and we still have a long way to go with the KASA initiative. And if you're interested, we recently published one paper in the open source journal. I mean, at least this article is free for download. It is in International Journal of Pharmaceutics from 2019. And also our advisory meeting information or material is also available from the FDA.gov website. And as we said, we do have some challenge questions. And the first one is more to see if you have enough coffee already. So what does KASA stand for? Knowledge Assisted and Systematic Assessment, Knowledge Aided Assessment and Structured Application, Knowledge Aided and Standard Assessment, Knowledge Aided Assistance and Standard Application. Which one, B? I heard something else. So I guess most people had enough coffee already, so it is B. And the last one is, what are KASA's objectives? Capture and manage knowledge during the life cycle, establish rules and algorithms to facilitate risk management, and perform computer-aided assessment, analyses of applications, provide a structured assessment, or E, all above. Yeah, typically it's E when it comes with a list. All right, thank you very much.